Welcome to Film Talk Weekly Radio. This is your guest host, Castle Searcy, with the Santa Fe International Film Festival. Today we're here with Frank Quatrone, editor, independent filmmaker. Frank Quatrone, thanks for joining us. Where are you right now?
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Currently, I'm in Burbank, California. Um, Been there for about 2 years after moving from Albuquerque.
And how can people reach you? Do you have Instagram and email?
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is just my first name underscore last name, so Frank underscore Quatrone. Um, Email, I don't know, just message me there. Like I'm
Yeah,
hesitant to give that out.
yeah.
Or it's first name, last name at Gmail.
Okay, he did it.
Yep,
Yes.
I got it before anyone else did. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and like just call dibs on a few email addresses I think I'm going to need in the future. So I've got a
That's a good
handful.
idea. Yeah, yeah.
Eventually,
Another hot tip for the kids.
yeah, I will never have a number in my email address.
Okay, you heard it here, everyone. He will never have a number in his email.
Yep, that's right. That's
All
that's
right.
what I tried to live for.
Yes. Okay. And, I just saw you last week. It was the film festival. Um, Tell me some of your favorite parts of the film fest. You always come out every year. And tell me how you got involved as well.
Well, also thanks. I mean, this year there's some really good movies. I really loved Memoir of a Snail. That took me. And also, my wife's from the Czech Republic, and there were a couple Czech filmmakers that flew in.
Oh, cool.
Petra and Natasha. They had the movie Waltzing Matilda, and it won first. Or wait, I think this got announced by now, but it got Best Narrative Feature.
I think the announcements for awards have gone out.
Okay, good. 'Cause, yeah,
Yes.
they hit us up to help translate.
A couple different publications. So,
Neat. Uh,
um, what else?
um, ouch, the
What
people.
are your highlights of the festival? You were there the whole time.
Yeah, honestly, the highlights for me, I just love the people there. It's like coming back to summer camp every year. You see the same like group of people, and the group gets bigger and bigger every year. You start meeting more and more people and filmmakers that like it there, so they decide to come back the next year, or you know. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And this year, I got to bring my parents.
Yes. Yes.
First ever film festival.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep.
And I think you're bearing the headline is that Bryan Cranston received the Lifetime Achievement Award, and
Yeah.
every year you create this amazing reel, which is basically to me like a short film, or something. Tell us about creating that reel.
Yeah, I forgot. That's also pretty
Yeah,
cool. Yeah,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
making something and then having it shown at the Lensic to sold out audience. Even though I'm not the highlight of it at all whatsoever. It's just like a small piece. It's cool being in the audience and being like, hey, I made that.
You're the highlight for some of us, for sure.
That's
Yeah,
my
it's a great
highlight.
way to start the award ceremony and introduce the Lifetime Achievement winner. And it was just so fun this year with Bryan Cranston, especially.
God, he's a legend.
Yeah. I thought it was really funny too, you're real.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
yeah, but tell us what the process is like for that, how long it takes and what do you do, how do you even start?
Yeah, so it started years back, back when I was an intern at the festival. Because I interned at the festival for Jacques and Lisette starting in like 2014. Because I came in to interview to be a volunteer because I heard you get free movie tickets.
Uh-huh.
They thought I was interning or I was interviewing to be an intern. So, we talked for a little bit, then Jacques like, okay, great. Here, go to work, start putting passes in plastic envelope or the plastic slips. I'm like, okay. He's like, all
Uh-huh.
right, yeah, come back next week. All
Uh-huh.
right, guess that's the thing now. And then I ended up interning with them for years and
Yeah.
working on this. But yeah, one year, I'm trying to remember which year it started. Um, but they wanted me to like just throw together a little slideshow or something for the guest of honor. So but yeah, I just slapped together like some video clips of like their guest of honor, their actress, and then some pictures and tried to just put some inspiring interview in the background. And they're like, oh, yeah, this is good. This is good. We'll put it up. And then the next year, I tried a little bit harder. Then every year, I just kind of pushed it further and further until now it feels like I'm making a full-on, just like short film, especially because now, like the every year they seem to have bigger and bigger guests, and like not to say that the others aren't big, but like as in like easier to find their material.
Mm-hmm.
Because, there's some actresses that it's, or actors where it's like, I have to really scrape the internet to find like, high quality video. Whereas this year we had Bryan Cranston, and like the process of trying to look through like hours and hours and hours of interviews and like clips and Q&As and speeches and talk shows, and then try to make a story out of it is
Yep.
it's grueling.
Like,
And
how long did it take?
it's a process that, I mean, just mixed in with my schedule. I mean, it'll take like a few weeks at least, sometimes longer depending on the availability. But I mean, I'll take like several just full days of going through YouTube and finding the best clips that I can and trying to mentally just map out like, okay, so he talks about this there and that and that. Trying to, because that's the hard part is it's it's easy to find really fun clips of him performing because he's in so many things. I mean, I grew up with Malcolm in the Middle, so as soon as they
Mhm.
said Bryan Cranston, I knew what clips I was going to use. Like, okay, I'll use this from Malcolm in the Middle, this from Breaking Bad. I have to have like, at least one clip from Argo and all this stuff. And oh, and Seinfeld, I had to have
Yes,
that
I
thing.
thought that was for me. Those Seinfeld clips.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I knew I had to use it because Castle was gonna be there.
There were like three of them.
And then I knew like, the X-Files clip that he was, that he famously talks about was how he got connected with Vince Gilligan for Breaking Bad. So
Oh,
when I found a moment where he says that, you have to catch a lucky break, I
uh-huh.
put that clip right after it,
Ah, oh, so smart.
sprinkling that in. But yeah, no, I mean, it'll take a few days of just going through and finding the best footage, and then organizing it and then trying to put something together. I always start with the narrative first of, putting the interviews and talk shows and all that stuff, trying to find reoccurring themes. Like this year, or like, yeah, for him, there's a lot of things that I like where he was just talking about hard work, like
Yes.
hard work and also luck. I thought that was interesting that somebody was coming out and saying it that, he said in several things that like, you can't make it in this industry without a bit of luck.
Hmm.
But, it's about being ready to take the opportunity.
Right.
I mean, there's some stuff that he went on even further that I chose not to put in because it was a little less inspirational. I thought it was inspirational, but not everybody likes hearing clips where he's like, most of the actors aren't going to make it.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that, I guess.
Yeah. Figured that might not be the best for the moment.
Yeah, like the luck thing, I mean, it is important, like just in general for our type of careers, like, but you still have to be in the place to have the luck. If you stay in your house and you never go outside, there's no chance of the luck.
I know, and
And I
there's
guess
there's
that's what he's saying.
yeah, and there's so many things I really wanted to include, but I didn't have time for. I mean, he went on further about how he was, what he wanted to do was just try to outwork everybody.
Yeah.
And it was a long video. I had to cut it down to, like 5 minutes, which I still thought was too long, but there's a lot of gems.
So how do
But
you get, what else can you tell us about making films on a budget? Like tips, hot tips for the kids out there.
hot tips for the kids out there, use the people use the people in your community. We know this great dude, Ralph in Espanola, who everybody knows. So when we were like, hey, we need like a warehouse, and he's like, oh yeah, let me hit up this guy. And then
Hmm.
we got, the only thing, I think our location budget for the film, we didn't pay more than $100. All we had to do was pay for electricity for that location. And then, it's like, hey, Ralph, a restaurant? He's like, oh, I have this great family, and they just want to, get a link to the movie when it's done. And then also just a bit of run and gun stuff, like maybe you have permits, maybe you don't. Um, it's better. Sometimes it's best to ask for forgiveness than permission.
I'm with you on that
Yeah,
as a general rule.
because
And
if we,
use the words, hey, we're doing a student film.
yeah,
That goes a long way.
I just want to point it out that in 2014, Laura Taruso wrote in Movie Maker magazine that I am the world's hippest intern.
Oh, really? Does she also know that you are the prince of the festival? Well, she'll know now. Real quick, I want to get back to, of course, we could talk about Bryan Cranston all day, but I think like what you're doing is making, like in documentary film, like there's a couple ways to do it when you have the story and, you kind of plan it out, or you just go like the kitchen sink, get all the footage and then edit it down. I feel like you're kind of doing a kitchen sink mini documentary on
Yeah.
Bryan Cranston or on every Lifetime Achievement winner every year, Oliver Stone, Jenna Rollins.
I actually did not do the Oliver Stone one.
You didn't.
That was the one year my schedule was just completely messed
Oh.
up. I was working on Better Call Saul and doing like 12-hour days.
Yeah, so that's the next thing is Better Call Saul. So you have like a kind of a personal tie, especially to Bryan Cranston in a way. You worked on Better Call Saul how many years? Tell us about that.
So I worked on season 5 and 6 on the post-production side. I did all the dailies, working for this company, Photochem or through them.
And what's a
Um,
daily for the general public out there?
so dailies, it's essentially like well, at its core, it's like, we process the digital footage. So like camera team will get us every day, like, twice a day, like at lunch and then at wrap. They will bring me all the camera cards and all the sound cards. And then we ingest them into this big system and the server and do all the backups because you need to, like, especially some studios require less. Like this one, I think at any given point, we would have like 5 or 6 backups of everything they shot.
Wow.
Yep, including like in different locations, just in case the studio burned down, then they'd still have their footage, so they don't have to reshoot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then I would like sync all the sound and video together, put in all the metadata, all this less interesting stuff. We had a guy that would do the color there. There's some shows I'd do the color on, but this one they needed a separate, like dedicated colorist, and this guy Brian was the guy. Um, and then we like, I get a, what I loved about that is I was the first person that got to watch all of the footage. And
Cool.
I'm a huge fan of Better Call Saul. Like I've been watching it since season 1. And then
Yeah.
when I got a call to work on it in season 5, because I've been working on this show in Santa Fe that this Ben Kingsley show, Perpetual Grace, which I don't know, not a lot of people have seen, but that's because it was on a weird platform that at the time, whatever MGM's thing used to be. But it was a fun show. And then the assistant editor on that, neat he's on Better Call Saul, and they needed a dailies person. He's like, get this guy. So I got a phone call and got to start
Awesome.
working on that.
So like, do you have any stories or any experiences from working on the
Well,
Better Call Saul set that you're allowed to talk about?
yeah, I mean, there's this one day on season 6 where 'cause I worked out of Netflix Studios, which is where they would shoot everything when they're doing stages. Everything they built out was in there. It was like halfway through the season, maybe a little bit, no later than half of it. Um, but it's one day I'm just working out of my office. My door's right next to the studios, and suddenly everyone just starts running back and like I'm like, what's happening? Then like the Rosa, like the she's kind of like the medical person. I see her just running like out of my way, and I'm like, that's a bad sign. And that was when Bob Odenkirk had a heart attack.
Oh, you were there that for that.
Yeah, I like texted my
Oh.
friend in that was like in the camera team. I'm like, what's happening?
I he recounted that whole experience on Howard Stern, like it, and even
Yeah,
refers to the medical uh, professional that.
Rosa Estrada. Rosa, if you're
Yeah,
listening, you're the best.
yeah, he credits her with happening to have the defibrillator in her car.
I remember seeing him
Yeah.
like run with a defibrillator, and I'm like, what?
Oh my God. And
And then
yeah,
the
go ahead.
stage manager's running past like with her, and he just kind of gives me this look like, oof. But
Uh,
yeah, and there was like a full day of kind of everybody's just like, on the edge of their seat, like, what's gonna happen?
yeah. Well, like also on to quote Howard Stern show, but like Bob Odenkirk talks about, he's like, if you ever want to see what someone looked like before a heart attack and after a heart attack, it's that scene where he's sitting on the couch. I think
Yeah.
Lalo's over at the apartment, and
Yeah.
like there's a split, and it's like before and after the heart attack. It's like right in the middle of the scene, which is like super interesting. And I have watched it to try to see that difference. I'm not sure that I can, but
Yeah, I think it's either episode 8 or episode 9 of season 6.
yeah.
I
Wow.
remember going through that footage. It was an intense scene.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah, when they said that when they announced they were splitting up the season into two sections, I knew exactly where it was gonna be. So
Mm-hmm.
there's an awful cliffhanger, like right around that time, and I'm like, it's not a bad place to split it. And then they
Mm-hmm.
announced it. I'm like, I called it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Um, so like what other shows have you worked on? And what other projects of note? Because it's hard to top that one. Like that's kind of pretty much my favorite show too. I've seen it like
Oh yeah,
six
no,
or
that's
seven
like,
times. Yeah.
oh yeah, that's one I would watch like every year. I honestly, I don't know if I'll ever be able to beat working on Better Call Saul, even though it was, like just doing dailies and um but I don't know. I mean, I worked on a handful of other stuff after that. I mean, there's like when BJ Novak did his film Vengeance, I was working on that. Um I don't know, just a handful of stuff. Most recently, there's a new Dick Wolf show coming out. I don't know if there's any information I'm allowed to share on that one, but I actually did the color on that one as well, like the dailies and the color, as an assistant editor. I mean, it was pretty much the same job, but with the assistant editor title and also color. Um, then I got in the union, the Motion Pictures Editors Guild, IATSE 700, baby.
Cool. And that's work you've been doing since you've been in California.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I moved to Burbank like March of 2023, and I think like that next month the double strike started.
And so how do you go about finding work? Like obviously your position on Better Call Saul was because you worked with someone else and they recommended you, and I think that's a testament to your good character and personality, and like never make enemies. I think we all know that in the creative business. Like, do you have some tips for getting your next job? Like,
Yeah. No, my whole theory is always leave a good impression anywhere you go. Never leave the room without having left a good impression. Like if you leave a room with you know, like on a bad note or like, with people just have a bad taste in their mouth, like that can affect you because then next time they think of your name, it's like, oh yeah, we had that fight or this thing happened. But so I always just try to go in the room, make a good impression, meet everybody, like just treat everybody like people, like let them talk about the awesome stuff they're working on and the
yeah,
awesome I want to work on. And then that's worked out well for me. For the most part, like all my best work has come from people who have just worked with me and they want to bring me on to other things, which has been, I feel incredibly lucky for that. It's been really nice.
yeah. I mean, especially moving from New Mexico to California. Like, how did you make that transition?
Honestly, kind of foolishly. Well, we did it just because my wife and I wanted something. We wanted to try it out. And there's a lot more opportunities for post production in LA because it isn't much of a thing in New Mexico. Like New Mexico, it shoots so much, but at the end of the day, the companies always ship it back to Burbank or New York, and they finish it there, which is ridiculous.
Hmm.
Uh, Not a lot of shows actually do their post-production in New Mexico, which is a shame. And I've talked to people that are trying to change that, and I'm hoping so, because honestly, the goal at the end of the day is to come back to New Mexico. It's like
Okay.
LA is great, but like I love Albuquerque.
Yeah.
That place is home to me.
Yeah. And I think everyone misses you too
Uh,
in New Mexico.
no, when we went to the festival, it just felt like home.
Yeah.
No, New Mexico's great. I've lived in a lot of places, and that's still my favorite.
So, Frank, I just want to kind of get like your background. Like, did you always want to work in film? Like, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh yeah, I pretty much always wanted to work in film. My dad works in advertising. He was like a creative director growing up. So when I was growing up, so he'd write all the commercials and then he'd take me onto set with him. One time a director let me call action and I was like, yeah.
Yeah.
I,
Cool.
Idaho Lottery commercial.
Oh,
And
nice.
I was like, yeah, this is the peak of
This is the
excitement.
life. Yeah.
But yeah, and then my parents, had like a little mini DV camcorder when I was
Uh-huh.
growing up. Then my dad got me, iMovie, so that me and my friends would just make videos every day when we were like 8 years old, or just kids like having fun. And then I kind of just I stuck to it. There was a time in my life that I really wanted to be a magician, though.
Yeah.
And then there's like, Christopher Nolan's movie The Prestige, and I was like, it's about magicians, and I'm like, ah, the real magic is in the movies.
Yeah. You've heard it here. You've heard it
Yeah.
here. Well, I mean, there's still time.
Yeah.
And, you can also make a movie about magic, I guess.
That's a thing.
Yeah. Did you go to film school?
Yeah. I went to the Santa Fe University of Art and Design. Let it rest in peace.
Oh.
That was the last graduating class before it
Oh,
shut down.
wow. Okay.
Yeah. That's a shame. It was a really fun school. I really enjoyed it there.
And then your first, like, you talked about you interned at the Santa Fe at the time Independent and then International Film Festival. You took us through a couple jobs you had. So you've only worked in film, really?
Yeah, pretty much, except for, some high school jobs working at the mall and doing some manual labor stuff. And yeah, pretty much just film.
Yeah. And I know that you had a film in the film festival.
Yeah,
Does 2016?
17.
17. Okay, tell us about that.
Yeah, no, I made a film in like 2016 and we played it. It got to premiere at the Santa Fe International Film Festival. It was independent back then in 2017. It's called Lost Kitty Found, like Kiddy, because it was like the one like horror movie at that year. It's about child murderers. It's like it's like the
Yeah.
least marketable movie you can imagine, because it's like I wanted to make a horror but not like a slasher film, more of like
Mm-hmm.
a mystery, kind of like, like David Fincher's Seven, like that kind of horror. So it's like it's too dark for the general audience, but it's not like hard enough for like the general like horror audience. So it's this weird niche in between where I'm like, I like this.
Mm-hmm. It almost
Um,
sounds uncomfortably like real or
oh
something.
yeah, it was
Like
an
a
uncomfortable.
real, like it would be like every parent's worst nightmare.
Oh yeah, no. It was because you go to the festival and people are all talking about their films, like, yeah, you should come to mine. Like, cool, come to mine. Then like, yeah, what's yours about? I'm like, child
Kidnapping?
child snuff
Yeah.
films, make them, and they're like, oh, and you could just tell in their eyes that when they said they're like, we might be there, like
Uh-huh.
it was like, the LA of like, I'll be there, but it's really like I'm not gonna be there.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, because it was, I mean, I was going through a period in my life. Things were a little dark. Um,
Hmm.
I kind of channeled that into writing this gruesome script that nobody asked for, but somehow I it got made. We
And
had
it
a
got in, and it got into the festival.
got into the festival, which was cool. It's those guys have turned down some of my films before, so I know there isn't bias.
Hmm.
So that was kind of an honor. When I had a film that got rejected from the festival, it honestly gave me more. It kind of gave me some validity, or it validated me a little bit because I'm like, okay, I guess that film was good enough. But yeah, it was a film that me and my friends made. I was like 20. It was my sophomore year of college, and I had made a short film version. Then I kind of made friends with like, who ended up this guy, Danny, who was like, my best friend and producing partner. We're just like, let's do it. Nobody else is really doing features right now at the school. And we found out why. It's because it's a stupid idea. Um, yeah, the best advice I ever got for making a feature was this guy at the school who just looked me dead in the eye and he's like, "Don't do it." Because
And
one,
why? Why?
oh, because it's I was just like, it's just like making a couple short films, right? Like I do plenty of those, but
Sure.
yeah, it's a little bit more difficult, but it was so much fun. But yeah, no, his advice stuck with me because it made me actually stop for a moment. I'm like, okay, should I do this? And the fact that my answer was like, yes, kind of just
Hmm.
made it stronger. And a lot of people told us like it's impossible or that we're not gonna be able to finish it. And every time somebody did that, like, I think spite is one of the strongest motivators on earth. Because there are times where we're close to giving up, and it's like, no, because then this guy will like he'll get in
Yeah,
our
this guy will.
he'll give us that look of, hey, how'd it go?
Yeah.
But yes, we had very limited resources. We were able to scrape up maybe like 10 grand, which is like less than a commercial takes. Like a 30-second commercial will have a much bigger budget than that. But at the time, we thought it was all the money in the world.
Hmm.
Used to working with nothing. But yeah, with 10 grand, we stretched it over like a 19-day shoot with like there were like 20 locations. We were just running and gunning a lot. And how we were able to do that was just we really brought the community in of Santa Fe, of the school of Espanola, just because we had done a lot for people. We'd worked on a lot of people's, short films and stuff or whatever else. And a lot of people owed us favors and we just cashed them in.
Hmm.
So, crew members, we were all there, most of them, they were just like, yeah, let me work on this, don't have to pay me. We paid the actors because I'm like, they're gonna be dealing with a lot of like BS on this, as it's gonna be it's gonna be chaos. Um, but no, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we found a lot of creative ways to make that money go a long ways. Um, which was that I think look like working without money is its own art form. Um, So I mean, there was stuff like, we needed props, like we needed fake teeth, like a
Hmm.
jar of children's teeth. Um,
It's hard not to laugh. I think I shouldn't be laughing at this, especially I don't think I've seen it. Usually
yeah.
when I'm working the fest, I don't have time to see any films. I would love to see it,
Oh
but
yeah.
I'm like I'm
It's
not
on
sure if I
Amazon.
should be laughing. And
Yeah, it's no, I think it's hilarious. But no, we needed those and none of us could figure out like props and stuff for that. And then last minute on the day, our person who was like our prop slash wardrobe plus sometimes AD, like we all wore every hat. There was a day that me and Danny, the producer, we were flipping a coin and taking turns over who had to record sound that day. And it was like, you record sound for this scene, I'll do the camera and then switch around. And it was, no, it was fun.
did you tell us how you got the fake teeth?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like,
We
the
on the
fake teeth.
day, Yep, on the day, this girl, she was just like, Yuki, she was just like, buy a bag of almonds. We're like, okay. And then she just took a knife, she started carving out the almonds.
Wow.
When you take yeah, the inside of almonds, like carved to a square, like they look remarkably like teeth.
Wow.
Which I just thought was one of the coolest
So
things.
loose teeth, I
Yeah,
guess,
yeah, yeah,
not like
just
a
teeth.
row of teeth.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a row of teeth, just a jar of teeth.
Wow. Okay. That's a hot tip for everybody out there. If anyone needs a jar of fake teeth, almonds.
And then a really, really dear friend of mine, who's since passed, Mara Padilla, she was a friend of mine who I'd used in the short film because I needed a child actress, but I didn't want to deal with children. And she was like this very short woman who looked kind of like a child. So I was like, hey, Mara, can we like kill you on camera graphically? She was like, yeah.
Okay, so this is the feature film from 2016.
Yeah, Lost Kitty Found. I remember, so at the time when we were making it, Chris Eyre was the head of our school at the film
Oh,
school. And yeah, so, I wanted to pitch it to him to kind of see what kind of support I could get on it, what he thinks. And me and my buddy Danny, who's the producer and sometimes DP, sometimes sound, sometimes literally anything else in it. But yeah, we went up and we were pitching it to him in his office. And, we're talking about this horrible tale of, uncovering like a crime ring of, kidnapped children that are then filmed being murdered and all this stuff. And the whole time, Chris is just there in his office, like, okay, all right. Um, that's an interesting story, guys. I'm gonna go. Then he was like, after we pitched it to him, he's like, I'm gonna go grab a coffee outside real fast. And then little did he know, I took the last coffee. So he's walking out, and I'm just like, yeah, that's woof. Yeah, he had a response that was pretty normal that anybody else got. But
right.
he did what he could to help us. He gave us a lot of moral support. He kind of cheered us on. There was a day that we were filming and he drove past. He's like, yeah.
Okay, okay. Does he have children? Maybe anybody who has children might not be partial to your film.
Oh, I had a guy cuss me out before.
Yeah, I bet. That's why I'm a little sensitive about laughing about it on here. Like people,
Yeah.
people with children don't love kidnapping and
Yeah.
murder,
It's not a
children
fun.
murder stories. Yeah.
There's one funny part, and that was just we allowed one joke, and that was when the one of the actors, this beautiful man, LaCharles,
La
they had a
Charles.
serious they had a serious conversation. Then he's supposed to go like, all right, I'm gonna go take a nap or something like, or he said like he went to the fridge, took out a full gallon of milk, and said, I'm gonna take a nap, and then left. And then we're just there watching that like that's going in.
La Charles.
Yeah. No, that guy's cool. I mean, he was on
Sounds cool.
he was in a lot of I mean, he's been in some decent stuff like Scream Queens and Westworld. That's what it is.
Love Westworld. Yeah.
But yeah,
Oh,
that's my fun little Chris Eyre pitching story.
cool.
So, I've got a little bit of I've got enough equipment to make it work. Me and my friends learned how to like make light rigs out of just going to Home Depot and then just putting stuff together and then going to Goodwill for props and just people that know what they're doing and want to have fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I made a couple short films for something like just a couple hundred. Then last summer, my friend Rio from college, he's he's I can't remember what it is that he has, but he's in a wheelchair and he wanted to make he's trying to put together a series about the disabled community,
Hmm.
which is a niche that isn't, there are very few shows or movies about that community. I
Yeah.
mean, at the festival,
Underrepresented.
yeah, and at the
Yeah.
festival, there's one movie Out of My Mind that was, that addressed that. But other than that, like I know very little. So yeah, we went down to Tucson, Arizona. 'Cause that's where he's living right now. He wrote it. And for some reason, he recruited me to direct it, and I'm like, all right, man, cool. I won't say no. Like that's awesome. It's a fun project. I'm not in the community, but I'm gonna learn everything I can. But yeah, it was just a short about a first date between Rio and a girl. And the first date is them at a sex shop going dildo shopping
Hmm.
because, that's a thing,
It is a thing. And, you know,
you know.
normalizing that behavior for, every community.
Yeah, my guy needed a dildo.
Yeah,
So yeah, he knew the owner of this really cool shop, Jellywink.
that's a great
So
name.
right? So we got to use that for pretty cheap, and then we just had a few lights, and we had a guy with a camera, and then the act we had two actors. Plus, my wife was just like in the background working the register, and then she awkwardly leaves because she was like, it's getting uncomfortable in there. And then yeah, we knew people that had a lot of dildos, and we made a wall of them.
Uh-huh.
Like we were trying to make a monolith, like 2001 type thing, but of dildos.
Yes.
It was a fun movie,
Yeah.
fun for the whole family,
Almost. Um,
almost.
so like I mean, you probably like me and probably a lot of creatives. I need to work in constraints or I prefer like to work in constraints. It helps my creativity. Like
Yes.
I'm guessing that's why you like talking about working on low budget filmmaking and ideas for that because it's rather than complaining about having a low budget
Oh
film.
no, I love
Yeah.
working with limitations because when the options are endless, it's hard to choose anything. That's why I have like 10 screenplays that are 70% of the way or halfway because
Hmm.
it's like I'm not giving myself much restrictions, and I'm like, these are like the dream scripts to make someday. And then, life gets in the way.
Yeah. Well, how do you impose constraints or limitations on yourself when there are none?
Sometimes you just have to make it into a game,
Hmm.
like, all right, I mean, like one of my favorite quotes was from Jack White from, like the White Stripes and the Raconteurs. He was talking about that he loves to work within the box.
Yes.
Like in White Stripes, he was talking about how their colors were red, white, and black, and everything had to be red, white, and black. And then it was just him and Meg. So
Hmm.
like, if they needed multiple instruments, they had to find a way around that. Like on stage, he's just switching back and forth between things. I mean, heck, like he even talked about like how on stage, if it takes him 3 steps to go from the piano to the guitar, he'll move it a couple extra just so he has to run, and
Hmm.
that he only keeps one guitar pick on stage with him. So if he loses it, he has to, you know, use his fingers or just run backstage. Like, I don't know, I think there's a real art to working within a box.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just something I've always carried.
Yeah. I agree. Anything else? Any parting words? What are you working on right now?
Right now, like I said, there's that film. It's called The Passenger, with my buddies who are trying to, right now we're taking it through the festival circuit and then trying to, from there, raise money to actually turn it into gonna see if we can turn it into like, a series or make a pilot or something. Other than that, right now, I'm just, given how abysmal the industry is right now, I feel very fortunate to be working. I'm just doing editing work for this company, Mid-School Math. It's like a math curriculum for middle schoolers, and they're
Nice.
kind of going around the world right now. I think right now they just flew into Brazil. We've already done one for South Africa and Colombia and California. They're making a series of like, applicable math situations and
Cool.
why. Yeah, right. And it's fun because it's also, it's we were getting, they got back from Brazil, gave me 30 hours of footage. It's like, all right, let's work with this.
And
Like,
obviously in different languages.
yeah, exactly. That's the tricky part.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm guessing. Yeah.
we've got a couple editors on it, and it's been a lot of
Uh-huh.
fun working on that. Um, But yeah, I don't know. Right now, just trying to figure out, you know, where we're gonna go in the future. Also, like a lot of the work I do is remote and can be done anywhere in the world. So it's like, why pay the extra money for California? So,
Hmm.
you pay for the opportunities there, but when there aren't opportunities, it's like, maybe we'll just dip out for 6 months or a year. And also, like last time I was in Czech for like a long period of time, it just brought a lot of creative juices back. So I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll finish one of those screenplays and see if I can do something again someday that's actually like, my own project.
Yeah, see what happens. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And Richard Jordan dubbed you the Prince of the Festival. Movie Maker calls you the hippest intern in town,
World's
in the
hippest,
world,
world's hippest intern.
world's hippest intern.
I
We call
still have
you.
copies of that magazine.
Okay.
And also, I used to edit this radio show.
Oh, okay. Well, you're welcome back anytime. All right. Thanks, Frank. This was Film Talk Weekly. I'm Castle Searcy, your guest host with the Santa Fe International Film Festival. Frank Quatrone, with the Santa Fe International Film Festival, joining us, editor, independent filmmaker, and we'll see you out there at the movies.
Thank you, Castle. So good to see you
Okay.
always.
Okay. Bye.